So today I'm going to discourage you from going on a diet because long term they are a terrible strategy for weight loss and, most importantly, keeping off any weight that you did lose. How am I going to do this? I'm going to talk about the physiological implications, so what actually happens to your body when you diet, but also the psychological implications of what diets do. And I'm going to give you a personal anecdote of a diet that basically messed me up, to put it very politely. Now, before I continue, in terms of comments, I just want to know from you guys what your experiences with diets have been, specifically diets such as keto, paleo, Weight Watchers, IF, Atkins, etc. Now, here's what's typical with most people I help. See if you can relate. You've got a bit of a belly, maybe love handles, you're not fitting so well into your clothes anymore, and your face is seemingly losing any form of definition that it once had. So we're talking double chin vibes, okay? Now, for most of you, first thing that comes to mind is to go on some kind of diet and training regime. Good on you, these are really good intentions. However, as you know, my mission for you is to get you stronger, leaner, healthier, and more energized. So in essence, to get you feeling like you did in your 20s when you had way more energy and perhaps felt in some way invincible. But I want you to do this in a way that ensures that you're able to sustain these qualities for the next 5, 10, 20 years, because ultimately you have a life, responsibilities, and you don't want to get overwhelmed by feeling like you have to go on a diet and runs every day. So, good news. I'm going to share with you some evidence from the scientific literature that illustrates and goes some way to explain the experience that I'm about to share with you, and that will hopefully convince you that diets are not the one. So, quick story. Back in 2013, I was living in Melbourne, Australia, and I started boxing pretty seriously. Now, my coach at the time said that for my height, 173 centimeters, I was a bit heavy, 75 kilograms, and that I should probably cut down to around about 70 kilograms. Now, given that my sport before boxing was rugby, I needed to get to a weight that I've never weighed in my adult life, which was pretty daunting. So what did I do? I got involved with the paleo diet. Basically, I did not eat any carbs at all for a few months. For the record, this for most people is ill-advised when you're exercising heavily, and also my calorie expenditure was high because I was boxing pretty much every day, I was cycling every day to get around Melbourne, and I was working 2 different jobs. And eventually I did rapidly lose the weight that I needed to, but at a cost. Physiologically, obviously I got smaller, but undoubtedly what happened was I did lose muscle mass and other things began to happen as well. For example, I had absolutely no libido, which for a 24-year-old male certainly is not healthy. Psychologically, I began to demonize carbs and, looking back, developed a very unhealthy and restrictive relationship with food. Fast forward 6 months, I moved to Thailand, I stopped boxing, I started eating. I put on all the weight that I lost and more, to the point where I was weighing 78 kilograms and the most out of shape I've ever been. So what was happening here, and what happened to me, and why did I lose so much weight and then put even more back on very rapidly? First reason, I'll cover this in another video, but basically my metabolism slowed down due to too much exercise / calorie expenditure. Second reason, I was on a rigid diet for a good 6 months, and the longer and more you restrict your calorie intake, the harder it becomes to keep this up for the long term. So this is shown to be the case in this study from 2021, which found that in resistance trained men, appetite increases if you continually restrict calories, which was me. In another study, Tracy Man co-authored one which found this to be the case. Her conclusion: the more time that elapses between the end of a diet and the follow-up, the more weight is regained. That was also me. And this is backed up by another meta-analysis which shows dieting to be a predictor of future weight gain. So as you can see, diets, whilst they're a great short-term tool for weight loss, aren't a great tool for long-term weight loss. In fact, they could be seen as a tool for long-term weight gain. So let me repeat that, diets could be seen as a tool for long-term weight gain. And the explanation is taken from this study, which shows that levels of leptin, which is considered to be the satiety hormone, decrease, and levels of ghrelin, believed to be the hunger hormone, increase. Therefore, when you're in a deprived state, you experience more hunger and feelings of hunger remain increased even after eating a regular meal. One more interesting example from the literature, which pertains to the psychological implications of restriction. A study published in the scientific journal Appetite investigated the role that psychologically banning foods such as chocolate, crisps, sweets and biscuits may play in dieting failures. And the researchers found that those with a tendency to overeat, who were told to abstain from their favourite foods and snacks for 24 hours, ended up consuming around about 133% more compared to those who were given no instructions at all. So as we can see, diets take their toll physically and psychologically, which parallels with my experience. So what should you do instead? I believe in creating a framework that allows you to practice the skills of nutrition day in, day out, month after month, year after year, because as you should know, my 90-day program, the Longevity Blueprint, is all about teaching you to play the long game with your health and fitness. So for me, it's important to help you make changes within the context of these 4 criteria. Number 1, is it necessary? I say this because for the large part, most diets create rules that aren't necessary for you to lose weight. You don't need to do keto, you don't need to do IF, you don't need to go on the paleo diet. You just need to get yourself into a calorie deficit. Secondly, is it too restrictive? If something is too restrictive in terms of the rules, this will present a huge mental challenge, and if you feel that you're making a big effort to stay on your diet, you need to take a step back and work on your nutrition skills first. Third, is it physically demanding? So you should never feel weak, lethargic or depleted on your nutrition plan. If you feel that you are, just so you don't feel bad for breaking the rules of your plan, then you should definitely consider another approach, as this clearly isn't a good, healthy mindset to have. Finally, is it sustainable for the long term? Can you maintain your new plan for the next 5, 10 years? Will this always be easy? Will it always be practical? Will you be able to socialize and have fun with your friends? Will you be able to enjoy the odd drink? These are important questions for you to bear in mind when starting to make changes to your nutrition. Most diets do not fulfill the criteria above, which is why after a phenomenal amount of weight loss, people gain weight quickly and easily. Now, by working on nutrition skills as opposed to going on a diet, you will be able to satisfy the criteria above and get into and stay in shape for the long term. So hopefully I've convinced you to not go on a diet, but I'm sure you're now wondering what nutrition skills you should be working on. So let me cover these in an upcoming video. But in the meantime, please do me a super quick favor, like, subscribe, and even WhatsApp this video to a friend. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.